What's up, Panthers? It's your boy Jaylen Goodman here, and welcome to Wisdom Talks. This week we'll be talking about digital currency. A lot of you may know about regular currency, but do you know about cryptocurrency? Tune in this week to find out.
Traditions are not made overnight. They are created through a legacy of excellence and a commitment to something much greater. For more than 135 years, Prairie View A&M University has provided students with a strong academic foundation, a unique college experience, and the opportunity to make their mark on the world. This is a place where friendships are formed, discoveries are made, and dreams are realized. This is Prairie View A&M University, our tradition, your opportunity.
And we're back, and welcome to Wisdom Talks. This week you're with me, Jaylen Goodman, and I'm here with the College of Business professor, Hesam Shahriari. So how you doing, sir? How you look great today? Like the suit,
Thank you.
Welcome in. Thank you for allowing me to interview you today. So, of course, you're a professor of the College of Business. So how did you end up in Prairie View A&M University? Let me get a little beginning to now.
Okay, glad to be here. So I studied engineering. So back in 2004, I got master's in industrial engineering, and I was always interested in finance. So I went to Canada to get my doctorate in finance. So I studied there. I taught there for a few years, and then I saw a job opening in Texas. It's warm, so I came down here and basically started Prairie View in 2016. And it's been a nice journey, and I really like it, so it's fun to be here. Yes.
So it's a culture shock coming from Canada to Texas. I know the heat is kind of crazy. The weather, you can get all the weather in 1 week. So what are some pros to the usage of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? Because you always have your pros and cons with everything. So what is some good pros that people should, and this is the reason why they should invest in the cryptocurrency?
Okay, so that's a good question. So the idea is, the idea of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies was that it provides a way of doing financial transactions outside the banking. Mm-hmm. And because banks they have their own system, they're entrenched, and of course they help the economy, but some concerns sometimes they may not have the best intentions of at least customers, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you have a system which doesn't need the banks, and you don't need to really trust the system, the banking system, so you can have a software or code, and you can trust that, then basically you can go around the middleman, and you can cut the cost, you can reduce the transaction cost. But the issue is, for that to happen, people should actually pay for goods and services with cryptocurrencies. They have to start investing and trading. So it's a conundrum, mm-hmm. right? So as more people start using it, then you can actually get benefit from it. But because we don't have that benefit, so people are skeptical, so they may not get involved. But it's not just using it for financial transactions. Bitcoin and the underlying technology, especially blockchain technology, has some other benefits as well. So you can get into projects which are based on that. And I was reading actually this morning that JP Morgan, they have created their own cryptocurrency, which is called JPM coin, I believe, and this is tied to the dollar, so they can use it to basically for transactions with their clients, right? Mm-hmm. So even the banking system, so they don't want to be behind, so they are getting in this. So, and of course, it's a risky investment, but you can see like any other investments, as they say, no risk, no reward. So, you can also think of it as an investment. So there are many ways that you can get involved in. Basically, you go to the banks, you can get involved with cryptocurrencies, or you can directly invest in it. So, and I understand people are skeptical, but it's unless people start using it, it's not going to get mainstream, and then basically those shortcomings are because it's not very liquid. Not many people are using it.
Okay,
Yes.
So you talked about risk and return.
Mm-hmm.
Many of you at home do not know this is my professor for my 3:30 to 4:50 class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He teaches principles of finance. So with that being said, as a college student myself, I might be a little bit kind of inclined to maybe not invest in the cryptocurrency, but if a student actually wanted to, what would be some advice you would give a student to kind of start their investment process into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency?
So risk and return, right? So you have to understand the risk. I personally think that if you want to invest in something which is that risky, there should be some money that you don't care about. You don't care much about. And again, you can win big or lose big. But if you're saving, say, for something in the future, near future especially, you're saving to buy a property, or just saving for travel after college, then investing in cryptocurrency probably not a very good idea because you want something stable, right? So, but if you want to try, so I know that at Prairie View A&M, so we have students who are interested in foreign exchange, in basically foreign exchange trading, right, which is currency trading as well, not digital currency, but currency. And those are also very risky. But it's interesting. So as long as you understand the risk, and the risk in finance, we always say risk goes both ways, right? So you have upside risk and you have downside risk. So you can win big or you can lose big. Lose big. As long as you understand that, then you can do any investment. So as long as you understand that you are taking that risk and you can tolerate that risk, then basically you can invest in anything, like cryptocurrencies basically included.
Okay,
Yes.
so is the university doing anything like the College of Business to kind of connect itself into cryptocurrency?
So actually, one of my students helping me, so we are trying to work with the College of Agriculture, maybe computer science department, College of Engineering, basically to work on a project here, maybe in Waller, maybe in Texas, which is actually not directly connected to cryptocurrency, but to blockchain, which is the technology behind it, and it's for to be able to track. It's a supply chain project to be able to track fresh produce, and so that's one thing we are working on. And I have done actually workshops for people outside academia, and interestingly, most of them accountants and lawyers. So we are getting there, but this is a new technology, so our experience is also new, right? So new things coming up, and we are trying to catch up and learn and adapt to that as well.
Okay, so but before we go, do you have anything you could tell the students maybe coming up as a finance major or a business major or a minor? Do you have any type of advice you would give them if they're trying to kind of get themselves into this field?
Oh, yeah, yes. So business, it may seem that, so in engineering you have a lot of math, you have to work very hard, but in business you also have to work very hard, so you have to be prepared. To work hard. You have to be prepared to be professional, because you're going to go and work for companies. It's an interesting journey, and you learn a lot, right? And it's a difficult journey, but I think it pays off. We always need businesses. We always need finance. As I said in Principles of Finance, it doesn't matter where you go, whatever business you work, any decision there is a finance decision. So these are the topics that I always enjoy teaching them, and I think that the students would like them as long as they're prepared to do the hard work and basically be professionals.
And we're going to go to commercial break for the interview portion. When we come back, you'll get an actual type of cryptocurrency lesson from Professor Hesam Shahriari himself. So tune in.
Prairie View A&M University is about the students. Students don't just come here for the education. They come for the faculty, for the creativity, the camaraderie, an excellent standard of living, and the school spirit. They come here to gain something profound and to give something back. Students come for the tradition of excellence. This is Prairie View A&M University. Our tradition, your opportunity.
And welcome back to PV Wisdom Talks with your host, Jalen Goodman. Now, many of you seen the interview portion with me and Professor Shahriari, but now we'll have the man himself coming up to the stage to give you a little lesson on why you should invest and what you need to know about cryptocurrency. So welcome to the stage, Professor Hesam Shahriari.
Good afternoon. I would like to talk to you about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies today. So Bitcoin started with a paper, a white paper, and an individual or a group called Satoshi Nakamoto posted in 2008. And the name of the paper, or the title of the paper, was Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So it started with that, and basically then in 2009, Satoshi posted a software which this Bitcoin or digital cash runs on it. And then in 2010, basically the trading started. So as the title suggests, it's a peer-to-peer network. What does it mean? It means that basically any financial transaction is between two people, and we don't need a financial intermediary, like a bank. So if you want to, with the banking system, if you want to send money to somebody else, or you want to shop, for example, you want to use your credit card, there is a banking system, including the banks, the credit card companies, and some basically other institutions that handle all these transactions. So they're the ones that actually verify whether you have enough money or not, and whether you can send this money or not. But when we have this peer-to-peer system, then we don't need the bank. So that was the idea. That was the original idea that they started Bitcoin. And of course, it's an electronic or digital cash, meaning that it's not paper money, so it's based on basically, it's digital. So it's a digital code that everybody can see. So that's how Bitcoin started. And of course, Bitcoin is one of the cryptocurrencies, which I will talk about. So after Bitcoin, of course, many other cryptocurrencies came out. So and Bitcoin, when it started in 2010, probably the value of one Bitcoin was around maybe 6 cents, 5 cents, around that, and it became very popular. So the value went up and down many times. But in 2017, people really got interested in it. And by the end of 2017, the price went up almost to $20,000. So it was basically a hot asset, right? So people looked at it as a financial asset that they can invest their money and they invest their money there and make money. Of course, this was not necessarily the original intention of people who created Bitcoin. The idea of Bitcoin was to use it as a currency, right? Like the dollar that we have. So something as a way that you can pay for goods and services. So you can do that, of course. There are some websites that you can say overstock.com, you want to purchase something, you can pay with Bitcoin. Or you can use it to exchange, because it's a currency, so you can exchange it with other currencies, like the dollar, for example, if you are in the United States. So the original idea was for Bitcoin to replace the cash or the dollar, the other types of currencies that basically we use. Now, Bitcoin runs on a system which is called blockchain. So blockchain is, you can think of it as a system of records, or what we call a distributed ledger. So it's a big file, computer file, stored on many computers, and this file is always basically growing. Now, after Bitcoin started, Bitcoin runs on a software. As I mentioned, software was made available in 2009, and there are a group of software developers that actually manage that. So this is a group of volunteers, say 250 people, that actually maintain it, runs it, make sure that it actually works well. Now, sometimes they don't agree, so they may basically separate and create their own coin. So that's one of the ways that actually new coins are started, like Namecoin or Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash are basically some examples of other cryptocurrencies that started when people did not agree on the features of a cryptocurrency. Another way for starting a new currency is through crowdfunding. So if I have an idea and I want to start my own cryptocurrency, I can go through a process called ICO, or initial coin offering. So I can start my coin with
some features which I think are interesting, and I can pitch it to investors, and then investors can invest in it, and I can issue new coins, that type of cryptocurrency like Zcash, for example, or Dash, or there are many, of course, and then start my own currency. So now we have thousands of different cryptocurrencies. Of course, Bitcoin is still the most popular and the one that most people know about, but there are many other types of currencies that became popular, like Ethereum, Ripple, and Ethereum was started in Canada, Ripple started in America, and each cryptocurrency started with a new idea, basically in terms of number of transactions, for example, you can do, the system behind it, and all that. But again, the basic idea is the same. We want a digital currency, and we want this to use to send money to somebody else, either for exchanging currencies or to pay for goods and services without the need of any banks or financial institutions. So that's the original idea. Now, how can you exchange it? Of course, it's a peer-to-peer system. What does it mean? If I know that you have some Bitcoin and I want to buy Bitcoins from you, I can just send a message to you, right? So I can use the social media, send a message and ask somebody that, okay, I need 10,000 Bitcoins or 5,000 Bitcoin, and then we can agree, and you can send me the Bitcoin, I can send you the cash and buy Bitcoin from you. So that's a one way we can do it. Or another way is to use an exchange, which is basically a place, most generally online, that people exchange these currencies. And there has been many of them actually, and right now most likely Coinbase and Kraken are the most famous ones. And the number of coins you can buy and sell on each of these platforms are maybe limited. For example, on Coinbase, you can only trade 4 main currencies, not every currency. So if you want to buy those other less known currencies, the best way is to go through the social media groups or other groups that provide basically these services. So you can exchange it through that. And there are some websites that accept cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin as payments. Overstock is basically one good example. So now, this, as I mentioned, runs on blockchain. So how does blockchain work? Blockchain is a big file of blocks. In each blocks, we have the record of financial transactions. So if I send money, or person A sends money to person B, this is a financial transaction. So that transaction has the code of person A, code of person B, and signature of both, and it's stored in that file, plus some other transactions of other people has done, and it creates a block. At the end of this block, there is a fingerprint, which is called a hash. And that fingerprint basically validates or verifies the information in that block. And then every 10 minutes, in the case of Bitcoin, of course, different cryptocurrencies might have different systems, but again, run on blockchain. Every 10 minutes, a new block is created and added to this file. Now, it has some interesting features. For example, when a block is created and it's stored in the system, you cannot change it. So if you send money, you cannot take it back. So you have to agree and make sure that this is actually what you're sending. If somebody is promising to send you goods and services, they actually do it. So we say we don't need to trust, but we actually need some form of trust, because you have to make sure if you provide something, the person on the other side is going to give you what they promised. That's one feature, of course, and this is there's a reason they call it cryptocurrency, because this is based on what we call cryptography, which is what people used to use in wars, for example, to send secret messages. So why is that important? Because every person who trades on blockchain or uses blockchain and basically trades cryptocurrencies, they don't need to actually show their name. So they trade using a code called a public key, which is, you can think of it as a username, right? And they have another code which is called private key or password, which only they know. And they can use that to sign, basically, when they do a transaction, when they save money, to basically sign under it. And the system can use it to verify the person who is sending the money is actually has the money. So, that's why this cryptography is the reason that we basically call these digital currencies cryptocurrencies. So after everybody signs, a block is created. At the end, a code is created, which is the fingerprint, and is added basically to the blockchain. Another interesting feature is if I want to go and change something in the past, for example, I send money to person A, and then I want to go and double spend it, meaning that send the same currency to somebody else, I have to go and change a block and all the block that came after this. And it's a very difficult process. It takes a lot of time, a lot of computing power, which is called proof of work. So I will explain it in a moment. So that's a very difficult way to do it. So all these are in place to make sure that every information that goes there is verified, is validated. People cannot go back on what they said, what they promised, and basically it is safe, meaning that nobody can go attack the system, change the blockchain, move money around, right? So these are basically good features that are there. But there's a problem there as well. The problem is calculating all these codes takes a lot of basically processing power. So you might have heard of cryptocurrency mining. That's the process through which basically you have a computer, so you run an algorithm, right, which takes time and takes a lot of energy. And after it's done, they give you basically, you can validate the transaction, and you can add a new block and create a new block and add it to the blockchain. And so this is cryptocurrency mining. So now there's an issue, of course, with cryptocurrency mining, which it takes a lot of energy. So the energy used at some point to mine Bitcoin basically was almost as much energy that a whole country like Denmark was using. So that's another issue. But again, these are all to make sure that we can validate and we can basically confirm that all the transactions are correct, and then add it to basically the system. So now, again, there are other things that this system provides, as I mentioned. So you have it's anonymous. So whatever you mention there is going to be your code. You don't need to basically expose your name, which also comes with some shortcomings, which after a short break, I will talk about those as well.
Traditions are not made overnight. They are created through a legacy of excellence and a commitment to something much greater. For more than 135 years, Prairie View A&M University has provided students with a strong academic foundation, a unique college experience, and the opportunity to make their mark on the world. This is a place where friendships are formed, discoveries are made, and dreams are realized. This is Prairie View A&M University. Our tradition, your opportunity. Traditions are not made overnight. They are created through a legacy of excellence and a commitment to something much greater. For more than 135 years, Prairie View A&M University has provided students with a strong academic foundation, a unique college experience, and the opportunity to make their mark on the world. This is a place where friendships are formed, discoveries are made, and dreams are realized. This is Prairie View A&M University. Our tradition, your opportunity.
Okay, now you may ask yourselves, are cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin, are they actually good? Are they useful, right? So you can think of them as investments. So investment in any asset is basically any asset is a store of value. We put our money there, and we want to use that for in the future. So now, of course, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies can be good assets. The problem is their price fluctuates all the time. They change a lot. And there are, of course, different reasons for that. One is they are not very liquid, means that they are not well established. Not many people actually invest in them. So when you buy the asset, you may not be able to find the seller right away. So because of these issues, the prices change a lot. And in finance, of course, when we have an asset for which the price fluctuates all the time, this is a risky asset. So anybody who wants to invest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as an asset has basically has to consider this, that it's a very risky investment. So that's one thing. Another use of Bitcoins could be as cash or currency. So what do we use currencies for? We use them as a medium of exchange. So either exchange for another currencies, but eventually to use them for to pay for stuff, to pay for things. So now, again, for Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency to be a good currency or a good means of exchange, its price should be stable. It may lose value over time, but its price should be stable. So, and unfortunately, we are not there. Now, there's a problem here, because in order to get a stability in these markets, more people has to start using it. And for more people to start using it, we have to have some kind of a stability, right? So that's a problem, which is people who are involved in investing in these cryptocurrencies or involved in developing the technologies actually trying to solve. And that was actually one of the reasons that the price after 2007, the price of Bitcoin crashed. So it went up all the way to $20,000, but then came down, and recently been hovering between 3,000 and 4,000. It broke 4,000 last week, but again, it's back to less than 4,000. So now, again, benefits are, first of all, it's digital. We don't need a financial intermediary. You don't need to actually put your name on a financial transaction, although there are ways for anybody who wants to figure out who is actually sending the money to go and figure it out. But it also comes with some problems. One of the biggest problems that you may have heard of are hacks. So now, the currency itself is stored on the blockchain. So the currency is there. What people try to hack is actually the password or the private keys that we have. So if somebody steals my private key, they can actually claim that this is their coin, and they can spend it. They can send it to another account, right? So that's hacking. One of the biggest hacks for an exchange called Mt. Gox, which started very early in 2010, 2011, and in 2014, around 850,000 Bitcoins were hacked and lost. Eventually, they were able to find 200,000, and this is still an ongoing case. So 650,000 Bitcoins, which at some point was very, very valuable, is lost, and they were not able to actually find it, right? Recently, there was another exchange in Canada, and basically only one person, the CEO of the company, had access to lots of private keys that belong to customers, the money that belonged to customers. The person died, and nobody else knows the password. So the money is there, but they cannot use it. They cannot actually give it back to customers because of the way the system is designed. So this is one of the major issues. And there has been many cases of these hacks over time that people or investors have lost trust in the system. That's one issue. The other issue is the scams. I mentioned ICOs, initial coin offerings. So sometimes people really have good ideas. They want to start a good coin, and they want some money, so they pitch their idea and get some money and start a new coin. Sometimes they just want to scam. And it's difficult, and it's like any crowdfunding project, it's actually very difficult for you or for anybody to know whether this is a good investment, whether they are going to return something, or it's just a scam. Or sometimes this may not even be a scam, it just may not work out. So that's another issue. Something else is basically, which is again, so that many investors may not trust in the system, is the issue of illegal activities. So it is, it's a digital currency. So historically, people used cash for either illegal activities or for money laundering. Now, digital cash can be used as easily, or even maybe easier. So there are many ways for people to at least try to hide their transactions. So that's another big issue. So the DEA actually did a research on that, and they figured out that many basically drug dealers that actually use Bitcoin to hide their money or to launder their money. Or sometimes when basically you may get a virus on your computer, it locks your computer. When they ask for payment, they always ask for you to pay it with Bitcoin. So that's another issue. So it's basically a bad name that basically somewhat stays with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, that they are used for lots of illegal activities and they are used for basically money laundering. So that's another issue. But the bottom line is, if investors start trusting in the system, and then and it becomes more established, then we can weed out these basically issues and end up with an actual electronic system or digital system that works. Now, this is not the only, so using Bitcoin as a digital cash is not the only way we can, or the only benefit we get from Bitcoin. The technology, blockchain technology behind it, can be used for other things as well. And even if Bitcoin and digital cash goes away at some point in time, of course, some people actually believe that it's going to get back to its heydays. Some people believe that the value is going to go to zero, and the truth is nobody really knows. But even if that goes away, many believe that blockchain is going to stay, because it's basically a system to store information, to store transactions, whether financial transactions or any other transactions. So there are many other uses for blockchain. For example, you can design an automatic car auction system. So I can go and I want to sell a car. I put my car in the system, and then bidders can come, put their bid. The system can easily check whether they have enough money or not, and then automatically sell the car to the next buyer and sends the information to the authorities, to people, to the seller, to the buyer, and to all the bidders, and close the bid. And all of this can be run automatically on basically a system called smart contracts. So a smart contract is basically a contract or which is run automatically. So like, for example, selling the car to the highest bidder. So that's one thing. You can think of basically another good example could be smart grids. So imagine if I have some renewable energy to sell. So at some point I may say it's solar panels. If it's not sunny, so then I don't have energy, so I'm going to buy it from the main grid. But then on a sunny day, I may have extra energy that I want to sell to someone. And we can have a market which is run on blockchain automatically, right? And it could be on Bitcoin, could be even on the dollar, but the blockchain can run this automatically for us. Another good example is in supply chain management. For example, Walmart and IBM, they're working on a project that they want to use blockchain to be able to track fresh produce. You may have heard of, say, E. coli outbreak, right, in romaine lettuce, right? So imagine if you can track every batch of lettuce to its origin. When you see an E. coli outbreak, you can actually basically only limit it. If you want to throw out some lettuces, you can basically limit it to a particular farm. So these are all basically the benefits. So as I mentioned, it's not just the cryptocurrency, or it's not just the Bitcoin. You can use this blockchain system for other basically applications. Now, of course, the financial system, the banks, they don't want to be behind, right? So probably IBM is investing hugely in this system, so they are the main investor. But banks, like JP Morgan, for example, they don't want to be left behind, so they're also investing. They're creating their own basically cryptocurrency. For example, JPM coin, this is something new that they want to use as a way to do transactions with their clients. So that can also help, right? So if banks and the governments also start using it or generate their own, then it may become more popular and more people will start using it. Now, the downside is, again, the idea was for this system to be independent of banks. So some people are skeptics. So if it's going to be rely on them, is it actually going to be good or not? In any case, there are many, if you want to know more about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, there are many resources, there are many projects which are designed. And I actually like two programs. One is called the Ledger on fortune.com. So I watch this, so you can check that out. And there is another program called Crypto Craze on the Cheddar News. So if you want to get more information, you can follow that. And of course, on the social media or news, you can find a lot of information. So I hope you learned something. And thank you. And have a nice evening.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for having
guys. Welcome to, thank you for having us on the PV Wisdom Talks. Hope you learned some new stuff today. Today, Professor Shahriari actually gave a great speech on what to do with cryptocurrency, the ins and outs. Social. Oh, you got the. Can you tell the audience of your social media in case they want to actually get in contact with you to kind of learn some more information about cryptocurrency, and in case they want to invest in anything? Because I sure want to invest, because I was over here taking notes on my iPhone. Shouts out to Apple for the iPhone. But would you like to tell them about your social media accounts to actually follow you?
Well, I am on Twitter as well as Facebook. I think still the best way to reach me is through my email, which is on PV website. And I would be, if you have any questions, you can email me, and I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you guys for tuning in today. And hey, come in next week. We actually have more wisdom talks for you. These wisdom talks, you're here to learn. You're here to learn new things that you might have not known about professors on the campus, or actually subjects that you might have been interested in and might not know a lot about. But you have actually professional people come up here and actually talk and teach you guys about things you didn't know and want to know. So tune in next week for a new guest and a new host. So thanks for coming.